I'm Ben Watson, and welcome to Defense One Radio. Today we bring you another conversation from the margins of this year's GLOBSEC conference in Prague. My colleague Patrick Tucker sat down with former Ukrainian Defense Minister Oleksii Reznikov, who held that job for nearly 2 years, beginning just a few months before Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and ending in September 2023. Patrick caught up with him between sessions at GLOBSEC, and the two discussed Ukraine's needs today, the prospects for a ceasefire, the evolving nature of drone warfare, China's role in global supply chains, and much more. Here's their conversation.
I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what are the most urgent needs of the Ukrainian military right now? Understanding that there's current discussions about a ceasefire, but there is no ceasefire agreement that Vladimir Putin has ever entered into that he has honored. So in terms of the next few months, the most urgent military needs for you?
I think my understanding that the list of our priorities still remains the same what it was during my tenure as a minister. So I would emphasize priority number one, air defense systems. Mm-hmm. More systems plus missiles for them, interceptors, etc., or shells, like if we are talking about Patriot, NASAM, SAMP-T, IRIS-T, so it means missiles.
Yes.
If we are talking about the systems like Gepardus, so we need rounds for them, and so it's priority number one because it's probably the main task to protect our sky.
Yeah.
Because if we are protecting our sky, it means we're protecting schools, kindergartens, hospitals, civilian residential, etc., etc. Yeah. So we can save more lives of civilian population. Yeah. Priorities number two probably still remains artillery shells. Yeah. And different types of vehicles. I mean, armed vehicles, infantry fighting vehicles, personal carrier, and mediavac also. Yes. Because it's the soldiers call it golden hour when somebody is wounded. You have one hour for stabilization and keep soldier from front line to the hospital. So mediavac vehicles, it's very, very important. And third, probably, I would say all types of electronic warfare. Yeah. First of all, it's more drones, because electronic warfare in the current moment became game changer. Mm-hmm. And if you will check the new approach of the Russian armed forces, they using so-called crawling offensive tactics. They sending 3, 4, 5 soldiers, not more. Yes. They stopped using massive column with tanks and infantry like it was in February 2022. Yeah. Today they're sending 5-3 personnel. Behind them going some soldiers with the rifles, like during the Stalin era. If they will come back, they will kill them. So it is special forcing special units which giving no chance to the soldiers.
When did they start doing that?
I heard it when I was a minister. So they started doing probably in the south and the east in the end of 2022 and probably in 2023. Yes. But first time we heard it, we thought it was a rumors, like maybe Prigozhin and something else. But it became true. And after that, after the Kursk operation, they invited North Korean soldiers. Yes. Because they are brave. Yeah. But they have no any expertise how to fight in real battle. So electronic warfare, again, it's different types of drones and jamming systems against their drones. Yeah. Because they also using electronic warfare. They're using like Orlan 10 for reconnaissance and Lancet to strike. Yeah. Or they're using Iranian drones also, and producing massive of them. Yes. So I would say that 3 priorities in this list still remains. Okay,
these haven't changed too much from even the early days. So basically, regardless of any ceasefire, you see the continuation of everything that Russia's been doing through this point. So any ceasefire wouldn't change even the amount of equipping that you need. You wouldn't need, for instance, more Bradleys or something to enforce a ceasefire line. You're just anticipating the continuance of Russian aggression as it has been without a ceasefire, it sounds.
You know, I have a special view on a ceasefire as a concept. Let me start from very, very beginning.
Yes.
Before I became a defense minister, I was vice prime minister and minister who was responsible for the reintegration of temporarily occupied territories.
Yes.
And simultaneously, I was, as a lawyer and after that a member of government, I was a deputy head of Ukrainian delegation in Minsk process. Plus,
Yes.
I flew with Andriy Yermak, political advisor of our president, Volodymyr Zelensky, to Paris and Berlin twice a month in Normandy format.
Yes.
So 2019 and 20 and half of 21, we tried to set up ceasefire regime during the Minsk process.
Yes.
And yes, we were lucky for 1 week, 2 weeks,
Yeah.
couple times it was 20 days.
Yeah.
That's it. But the contact line was only 300 kilometers
Yeah.
length. Width of this line was 4 kilometers.
Yeah.
4. So only, why 4? Because all artillery, all tanks was withdrawal, and only sniper rifles and mortar can reach out the target.
Yeah.
2 kilometers. That means 2 kilometers from our side, 2 kilometers from the Russian side. So together 4. And it was very, very difficult to keep ceasefire regime because somebody can use rifle
Yeah.
or grenade or mortar
Yeah.
from both sides because it's a human being, it's emotion and something else. Today we have more than 1,000 kilometers
Yeah.
real front line
Yeah.
plus 2,000 kilometers approximately so-called non-friendly border,
Yeah.
including 1,200 kilometers with the Belarus, because Belarus is a member of Russia's allies. They
Yeah.
staying behind. Russia staying behind them. And width of this line or band consists 50 kilometers, 50.
Yeah.
It's a gray zone
Yeah.
which controlled by the drones from
Yeah.
our side and from their side.
Yes.
Reconnaissance drones, satellites,
Yes.
and after that striking drones. So normal FPV drone today,
Yeah.
without optical fiber line,
Yeah.
can fly on 20-25 kilometers
Yes.
and reach out the target from our side and from their side. So the gray zone, which it's the zone where nobody can survive easy.
Yeah.
And how you can keep ceasefire there if somebody is sitting from 20 kilometers from your side
Yeah.
in a bush or on a basement
Yeah.
with a small gamepad and goggles or
Yeah.
screen
Yeah.
and operating by the drones.
Yeah.
How you can stop it? Especially if he will use the VPN decoding system. You
Yeah.
will not. You will think he's sitting in Amsterdam or in Paris or New York or in Beijing.
Yeah.
So I cannot imagine how to keep a real ceasefire on the ground.
Yeah.
I can imagine that ceasefire is possible in the sky and in the sea,
Okay.
because it's more realistically looks.
Yeah.
So Russian can stop sending cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, Iranian drones against us, and we can stop our deep striking reaction on their soil.
Yeah.
The same situation could be on the Black Sea,
Yes.
but on the ground.
Yeah. Never. It can't.
It's very difficult to really
Yeah.
seize. Yes, politically it could be announced.
Yes.
Guys, this is a ceasefire.
Yeah.
It means that they will not moving with their troops. They will not sending these crawling offensive small groups with a barrier behind them with the rifles.
Yeah.
Probably yes. It could sounds or looks like a real scenario, but not the so ceasefire
Yeah.
with a no shot.
Yeah. So on that there's a 50-kilometer line on the ground that under any circumstances, it's just sort of like the DMZ. Like it's no man's land, and it will remain no man's land.
Yeah, it's a gray zone.
Yeah.
It should be gray zone.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I hadn't realized that. And there's no way in a ceasefire agreement to talk about that or to give it to one side or to negotiate for that, because that is just the place that it will always be.
Yeah, you know that sometimes people still living in the previous times. They're
Yes.
thinking that ceasefire, like it was Christmas ceasefire during the first World War between British and German. So
Yes.
handshake, drink champagne together and something.
Yes.
No, there are no any romantic options.
Yeah.
So, and if somebody's saying that ceasefire is a horse and probably the peace
Yeah.
coexistence it's a carriage,
Yeah.
probably just only, but this is not horse, it's just the symbol. It's
Yeah.
like a small not dove of peace but small bird of
Yeah.
peace,
Yeah.
just a symbol.
Yeah.
But in the sky, first of all in the sky, that's why I mentioned priority number one, air defense
Air defense
systems.
systems, yes.
If every day and night civilian people will sleep well, kids will go to the school without sirens, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it will low down the aggression, low
Yeah.
down the nervous, low down the cortisol
Yes.
and adrenaline in their blood,
Yeah.
and it can provide or allow to continue the
Yeah.
real negotiation process.
Is that part of the rationale for Operation Spiderweb, to show that if you as part of an agreement, Russia agrees to limit its air attacks on Ukraine, it is a reciprocal agreement because Ukraine also has that deep strike capability. So if both sides agree to end the war in the sky or cease it, then it is fair because Ukraine's abilities do exist. So it's not just Russia relinquishing the air campaign and not receiving anything in return. Was that part of the rationale for that operation at that time?
Yes, I think that this fantastic operation,
Yes.
Spider-Man, had different types of consequences.
Yes.
And first of all, I would think that Kremlin leadership appeared to discombobulated according
Yes.
to this operation
Yeah.
as a fact,
Yeah.
because for them, deep in their soil,
Yeah.
wow,
Yes.
such fantastic.
Yes.
Second, in 1994, Ukraine signed the Budapest Memorandum.
Yes.
According to this Budapest Memorandum, we refuse to be nuclear country,
Yes.
and we got the guarantees
Yes.
from the Russians and Americans and British.
Americans, yes.
And France joined to this memorandum.
Yes.
And according to this memorandum, we destroyed part of our fleet,
Yes.
and other part we gave to the Russians,
Yeah.
especially the special aircrafts,
Yes.
two, which are carrier of the ballistic and cruise missiles.
Yes.
And today, this guarantor using this aircraft against us,
Yes.
carrying the missiles and bombarding us, shelling
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And you know, when I met a couple times President of Ukraine, Leonid Kuchma.
Yeah.
He was our head of our Ukrainian delegation in Minsk process, and
Yes.
we discussed a lot with him. And he told me story about the signing of the Budapest Memorandum.
Yes.
He came to Budapest as a young president of Ukraine. He signed this memorandum with the leaders of United States and Russia. And next day, he went to the hotel when all these gentlemen, Monsieur Mitterrand, president of France, because he was a little bit illness, and they agreed to sign in hotel separately. After the signing, President Mitterrand told to young president of Ukraine, Leonid Kuchma, young men, in any case, they will cheat you. It's a quote.
Yes.
So, and we see the results.
Yes.
And that's why, so we destroyed part of Russian fleet, which we gave them
Yes.
decades before, and we reduced their capacity to to sending these aircrafts with the missiles and bombarding us.
Yeah.
And again, it's a signal, guys.
Yeah.
We will reach out you
Yeah.
on your soil.
Yeah. And therefore, when we have a ceasefire negotiation,
Yeah, it should be in their interest
Yeah.
to announce the ceasefire with us together.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah. That's a very good point that I had not considered. Had one of the things that immediately happened after that is that Vladimir Putin began shaking his fist and making promises of some sort of retaliatory act. But was that something that you all had considered, or do you feel like you have a good understanding of his red lines now, better than certainly perhaps many in Washington D.C. do, because he's always been threatening, different escalatory actions, and yet Ukraine has succeeded in increasingly important and deep operations that have shown much of those sort of warnings or threats from the Kremlin to be false. Do you feel like you have a good understanding of where his actual sort of retaliatory escalation line is? Or
for me, all types of red lines, it's just a question of imagination or estimation.
Yes.
Because we are human beings and we have our capability to see, and we are describing it in our minds.
Yes.
In the end of 2021, after the report by Mark Milley to the
Yes.
committee of the Congress,
Yeah.
it was a closed meeting about the risky of the full-scale invasion. Is it imminent or not? And after that, American media not quoting him, but using this report like leaks,
Yeah.
spread in the world that in the case of full-scale invasion, Kyiv will fall during 3 days or during 72 hours. You know
Yes,
this.
yes, yes, I
I
remember.
call it cognitive bias.
Yes.
But it's interesting moment because when I met in Poland in the middle of March, my colleague, Lithuanian Defense Minister Arvydas Anuškauskas, I was coming from the London after
Yes.
the meeting with the Ben Wallace to Kyiv.
Yeah.
Kyiv was still semi-occupied. Arvydas called me and said, Oleksii, I'm in Poland. Okay, we met in a Peremysl, and he joined me and continued my trip to the Kyiv. And we visited GUR head office, and our guys from GUR make it brief for us.
Yeah.
And they showed us the paper order, which was in the pocket of the killed in action Russian commander of the special operation units in
Yeah.
Kyiv.
Yes.
And in this order
Yeah.
was a really task that his unit has control the crossroads between government building and parliament building in Kyiv,
Yeah.
calling Sadovaya Street and Grushevskaya Street.
Yes. To keep
After
yeah.
12 hours from the very beginning of the operation. So this commander had a
That's his
task.
objective. Must stop this.
Yeah.
Transverse between these two buildings. Cut off the government.
Yes. So I really believe that Russia had a plan to occupy Kyiv during 72 hours.
Yes.
And intelligence of United States got this information.
Yes.
But there is a very important nuance.
Yes.
If intelligence reported to the Congress with the Mark Milley,
Yeah.
guys, Russians had a plan
Yeah.
to occupy Kyiv.
Yes.
Had a plan.
Yes.
But media changing this sentence and saying Kyiv will fall during 72 hours.
Yes.
But it's a difference
Yeah.
because they have a plan.
Yeah.
But we will fall. It's a perception.
Yes. Yes.
That's why what means red lines in this case?
Yes.
So we have to give up in the December 2021 when Putin sent the demands to the NATO countries, withdraw all your troops from the other countries in Europe till the position 1997.
Yes.
In January, Washington D.C. and Brussels reacted, go out.
Yeah.
And he went in February to Ukraine. But after that, we asked, for example, as a minister, I asked to my, I called to defense minister of different countries, guys, we need anti-ship missiles.
Yeah.
Oleksii, no, it's a red lines. If we will give you anti-ship missiles, it would be provocation, blah, 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 next level of escalation.
Yeah.
Okay. 13th of April 2022, two Ukrainian anti-ship missiles Neptune destroyed flagship cruiser Moskva in the Black Sea.
I remember. Big, yeah.
And it became very famous dive spot or dive site on the bottom of the Black Sea. I invite you to visit this wreck.
Yeah.
Do you like scuba diving?
I mean, if it's something cool, yeah, I would like. That's a cool. I've seen fish. So
I checked with our Navy commander, Admiral Nish Papa. He told me that approximately the deeper is 35-40 meters.
Oh, that's not
so
bad.
it's enough to using air with a scuba diving advanced level. And when we crossed this line and destroyed their flagship with a symbolic name, Moskva.
Yeah, the Moskva. Yeah.
We got Harpoon anti-ship missiles immediately.
Yeah.
And it allowed us to liberate Snake Island and open humanitarian grain corridor.
Yeah, yeah.
Every time we heard the guys, this is a red line. We crossed that red line. No escalation.
Yeah.
Continuation.
Yeah. Continuation. Yeah.
So, and I think that after the 1991, when President Bush Senior, President of United States, met with the Gorbachev. After that, he met with Gorbachev in Moscow. He came to Kyiv.
Yeah.
And he gave a speech in Ukrainian parliament. It was still socialist republic, Ukrainian socialist republic. You know this speech, very famous Chicken Kyiv speech.
Yes, yes.
And he tried to persuade Ukraine keeping USSR, keeping Russian Federation, Russian Empire as a USSR. And he called it our movement to independence as a suicidal nationalism.
Yeah.
And this mindset still alive in politician minds and their stuff.
Yeah.
The main threats for them, I will calculate 5.
Yes.
First, they're still afraid that Russia will use nuclear power.
Yeah.
In a case if Russia will lose this war, it will start the demolition or it will be finish of the Russia Empire.
Yeah.
So it will be collapse on their territory, like civil war, etc., etc.
Yeah.
That they think, oh, it will be non-control nuclear proliferation. Second, rising up of the Islamic radicalism in the Caucasus states on the Russia territory.
Yeah.
Migrants wave 10 million, 12 million, 20 millions.
Yeah.
Strengthening of influence of China on their territory, and vulnerability of the gas, oil, and other energy resources on the market.
Yeah.
But in reality, Russia using nuclear club as a bluff, as a threatening all of us.
Yeah.
Like Oreshnik, Skvoreshnik, and something else.
Yes.
They used migrants as a weaponry from Belarus to the Poland to the Lithuania, you know, in autumn and summer 2021.
Yeah, they use oil as a weapon.
Exactly. So migrants became a weapon.
Yeah.
So they have Islamic radicalism on their territory, in Chechnya, for example.
Yeah.
They became a youngest brother of the China. China became a beneficiary of all what is going on in this moment. So Russia is not the equal partner of China.
Right.
China buying gas and oil cheaper, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And gas and oil. Europe is dying without Russian gas and oil? Not.
Oh, no.
Nord Stream 2, Nord Stream 3. So these threats also in the minds. These red lines only in the minds.
Yeah. So do you think, though, that just talking a little bit about the U.S. administration, and I know it's, no one wants to necessarily criticize one president over another, but there is a threat of reduced U.S. support. There was a plan, as I understand it, to continue to provide, to allow European countries increase their defense budget through those European funds by material that Ukraine still needs. So instead of U.S. taxpayers or whatever, European countries buying HIMARS, other artillery necessary for the Ukraine front line. Everyone would be happy with this because then Donald Trump can say Europeans are buying it from American firms. The front line is there. What are you hearing right now from people within the White House or from within Congress? Is that different? And how are your conversations with Europeans going, not just in terms of shows of support? The shows of support are unified, they're very strong. But in terms of actual strategy for perhaps replacing what might happen if the United States were to cease to provide the same level of support?
When I was in February was Munich Security Conference. After the speech of Vice President of the United States,
Yes.
I saw a lot of eyes and faces in the main hall of this hotel.
Yeah.
I stayed with Robert Wash, the president of the GLOBSEC.
Yes.
Together we drank a coffee in a bar in the lobby in the center.
Yes. Yes. I would have something stronger after that speech, but yes.
Yeah, and we discussed it with Robert Wash that it was a real last wake-up call for the Europeans.
Yes.
Because Europeans, especially in Germany and other countries, they slept in a warm bed.
Yes.
Because it was very good to sell to Russia Mercedes, champagne, and buying their gas and oil, and have an umbrella in Washington D.C. in any case, security umbrella, and not invest in their security and their defense capability. And I think that this approach from the White House is absolutely understandable for me.
Yeah.
And in the previous tenure of the President Trump, he sent this signal to European guys: wake up, rise up your expenses for your security, for your defense capability.
Yeah.
We are not your donor.
Yeah.
And today we hear a lot of messages from the leaders of the Europe that yes, we need to rise up our expenses and use. Secretary General of NATO, Mr. Rutte, also telling guys, if we will not rise the expenses, we have to start learning Russian languages.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see the real changing from in London, in Copenhagen, in Denmark, in Stockholm, in Sweden.
Yeah.
Also in Baltic countries, especially Vilnius, Riga, and Stalin.
Yeah.
And I hope in Prague also as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not in Bratislava, not in Budapest. But it's alive.
Yeah.
So I think that world is changing.
Yeah. Can Europe, though, provide, for instance, space-based intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, very key to a lot of Ukrainian operations, comes from U.S. companies that are very anxious to partner with Ukraine. They've done tremendous work, and it's the best showcase for their product that anyone has ever seen, is beating the First Guard tank army with the help of their product. Can European countries provide some of those things, air defenses that are similar to Patriot? The munitions rounds the EU is trying to scale up. Can they be a partner of support? Country Kallas at the EU says, yes, we can. Concerns, fears that maybe that even if they want to, they can't provide exactly the same things. And just how are you talking about that?
I would think that yes, Europe has this capability, but they need to develop them, and they need to raise more money, more funds for that, because this war it's a math.
Yeah,
it's a war of resources.
Yeah.
So Europeans has a very good air defense system like NASAMS, SAMP-T, and IRIS-T, German new absolutely systems. The question is the interceptors, the missiles, because it's very tiny options to produce a lot of per month.
Yeah.
That's why we need to find new cutting-edge technological approach. For example, we don't need to use Patriot missiles or NASAMS missiles against Iranian drones, because it's a cheaper drone.
Yeah.
So if we use missile interceptor which costs $1 million or more against the same threat like cruise missiles or ballistic missiles like Kinjal, Dagger, or Iskander and something else, But if you see the Iranian drones, you have to use more cheaper capability, like Gepardus or something else, or striking drones.
Yeah.
So I know guys who are inventing the idea that we have a 10 meters approximately flying drones, like mother drone, which will carry FPV drones
and mother drones,
and put them, and FPV drones will attacking the Iranian drones. So we need to
is this a thing that you're making now?
Yeah. So
what is it called?
We started. It's just on the testing, but it's a question of weeks or months.
Weeks or months. Okay.
That's why we need. Yes, you have not seen because it's just what we started testing.
We'll talk to you in person when it's time to reveal it.
Yeah, but if in 2022, it was probably as minimum 6 months for changing something dramatically.
Yeah.
After that, 3 months.
Yeah.
After that, 3 weeks. Today, I discussed with our military guys here, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Not more. Every 2 weeks, something changing. Every 2 weeks. So dramatically.
Yeah.
So like optical fiber.
Yes, the fiber optic drones. Yes.
Yeah, fiber optic. So 1 year ago it was impossible.
Yes.
Or 2 years ago FPV drones was impossible because it was a toy for sport championship.
Yeah.
Today it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
new
the same would be. So we need to developing our protection in the sky using cheaper decision.
Yeah.
Cheaper solutions.
Yeah.
That's why European capability together has this capability.
Yeah.
Not only Czech initiative with the shells for the 155mm artillery, but for drones, for electronic warfare, for jamming systems, interceptors, plus satellites, fleets, like in Finland or Germany and something else.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. And defense contractors from the U.S. that have come and worked with Ukrainians are producing now much better products that speak to the actual battlefield of today.
Yeah. In any case, if United States will stay seizing by, they will lose the market because it would be new production lines in Europe together with the Ukrainians, because we are the biggest laboratory in the world.
Yeah.
Second laboratory probably is Gaza, Israel, and small and Red Sea a little bit with the sea drones. But the biggest laboratory is Ukraine.
Yeah.
So our genius in garages, they providing fantastic ideas. So we have R&D every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, though, too. Some of these guys, and I don't need to name their names, but some of these guys that don't understand why the United States should involve itself in this, and I just tell them, what is the story from Francis Scott Key about bombs bursting in air and et cetera, men, women, doctors, entrepreneurs, software developers, mothers, teachers, every day go out and reinvent how to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I don't know, that's American as hell, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
But some of my favorite Americans are Ukrainian, but that's the current state of things. They're still Ukrainian. So last question before I let you go. One of the things that's also come up is Ukraine, in so many ways, has been fighting so well, but kind of with a hand tied behind its back, out of consideration to the NSC and others who didn't want, for instance, to target. It took forever for them to allow the targeting of HIMARS systems on Russian territory. It took forever. There's a lot of different conditions that the White House placed on you, and some of those now I think are gone. But in the event of if the U.S. were simply to, the White House particularly, just withdraw from any engagement with this space, would that enable or unleash tactics and techniques that, and obviously you can't name them sort of specifically, but would that enable you to resort to different tactics that so far you guys have had to stay away from? But bottom line is, you're not going to go gently into that good night. There is no future of surrender that can be accepted. And so the war potentially gets uglier if it has to.
Yes, but you know that as far we will moving with this war, I mean developing the new technology.
Yeah. Because
this war is the last conventional war.
Yeah.
In the history of mankind. It's a new type of hybrid war when we're using simultaneously Soviet era legacy weaponry,
Yeah.
NATO standard weaponry, and new cutting edge technology.
Future NATO standard.
Future world standard,
Yeah.
future war standards. So
Yeah.
only Death Star is still something in a draft.
Yeah. Lockheed's working on
Yeah,
that one. That's a very Lockheed
It's
project.
question of the spare parts, electronic chips,
Yeah.
semiconductors, and AI capability.
Yeah.
So we can take it in different countries.
Yeah.
So as far we moving, so it means more independency we will be in this situation. But I really believe that Europeans partners understood it, and they will. And that's why we're discussing in this dialogue, also in the GLOBSEC conference, that the best investment of Europeans for their security and defense capability, it's Ukraine, because we are the eastern flank, we are the eastern wall. Behind this wall, orcs still living.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. No, totally. Before we go, AI and autonomy. I've been covering this for 20 years, and how do you see right now? There's a need for autonomy in drones to advance beyond Russian electronic warfare measures. They need their own ability to kind of do onboard processing of targeting, do inertial positioning, so they don't need GPS. How do you see Russia using AI and autonomy in a way that they haven't before? And to the extent you can talk about it, what is next for Ukraine in using that to achieve larger battlefield effects?
Russia are army of looters, martyrs, and rapists, but they are not stupid.
Yeah.
So lessons learned. Yeah, it's true. So they on a developing way with the AI and electronic warfare, and Ukraine also as well.
Yeah.
But China is not sleeping, and I think that I see the booming of the cars, electric cars from China. They looks better than other luxury car, and they are better and cheaper.
Yeah.
So just imagine what the level of the AI capabilities they developing in China.
Yeah.
And if China will help them, it would be dramatic changing also.
Yeah.
That's why we have to move forward as soon as possible developing them.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep an eye on new developments and details, and I want to be in touch on the mothership drone, because that's, every day we're watching the entire world change because of the ingenuity that's on display.
Yeah, every 2 weeks. What I saying seriously that.
Yeah. All right, Minister Reznikov, thank you so much.
Well, that's it for us this episode. Thanks for listening, and until next time.